This episode has 3 languages coming up. There's 1 line in French, en français. There's 1 dialogue in Finnish. And then there's this backdrop in English. The scene is set in 1965, so the original dialogue is in 1965. That's paraphrased in Finnish. You will hear Susipetonen and Professor Scamander keep traveling back and forth in time. Enough said. 21st of August, 1965. Somewhere in Sveitsi. Why are we here again, Professor? We all know the Chief Healer's message. It always surprised me that only the muggles can't seem to see that. I wonder what's stuck in their brain that prevents them from understanding this simple fact. It's in plain sight, and it's not a new message.
Ouroboros.
What?
Ouroboros.
What has that got to do with your pet occamy? Please tell me, why are we here again? I find Sveitsi quite boring. It's got like just 2 major banks, and they keep fighting for survival. I never actually quite understood why the muggles spent more time depositing turhau in Surunjoki than arkuus in Ilonjoki. Everybody in our world knows that it's stupidity to try to control a demiguise. And who in their right mind deposits turhau? Like, why do you even want to increase the credits of the Surunjoki bank? I don't know. Shh. What?
Timothy and Dougal are here.
What are they doing here? And what are we doing here? Why are we back in 1965?
Susie, my dear, please pay attention to what the Chief Healer is telling the Chief Receiver while I go after Timothy and Dougal.
Professor Abbott, are you here?
Yes.
I need to relay the message to you. I don't know why the Chief Healer keeps talking in different languages. I don't even have an elementary level of proficiency in Finnish. And you expect me to understand what he's saying? Kuinka siis voit edes vaihtaa? Haluamme ymmärtää meilun mekanismin. Kuinka sammuttaa meilu menettämättä ajatuksen toimintaa? Kuinka lisätä signaalikohinnan suhdetta? Mutta kuinka saat toimimaan ilman kitkä? Altufunktion romataminen on väistämätöntä, koska kitkä on väistämätöntä. Ja sitten romahduspisteet ovat tarkastelupisteitä. Altufunktion? Why are they talking about the collapse of the wave function? Didn't we cover that already? Milloin näemme jatkuvan tarkkuuden ja hallinnan kamppailumme turhan? Mitä enemmän jahtamme sitä enemmän se karkaa meitä. The more we chase it, the more it eludes us. Dr. Abbott, are they trying to control the demiguise? Only a fool tries to control a demiguise.
Aaranya, it's not my place to tell you this. By your own admission, you said it's in plain sight. What you don't know is what's stuck in the muggle brain. That's the key. And I think then you will probably understand.
Herra, miksi ajatus on turhautunut? Parce de passe sa fonction. Sessa. Sen taka-aju on lopputon ja se syventää itsensä. Tämän toiston myötä tulee surunjoon tulva ja Ilonjoki kuivuu. I do understand the question too now, because I think in 1975 when we went back to the Chief Healer, he had asked a question, which comes first, perception or desire? And now I see why the MeriKotka house has that key. A circle has no beginning. But if you think about this, why is thought frustrated? He just answered it. Because it goes beyond its function. Thought by its very nature is fragmentary. Its sole purpose is to be an analytical tool. Analysis can give rise to synthesis, but not wholeness. So that will just be some patchwork, and thought will always be frustrated because it will keep chasing these observations that compel it to go beyond its function. And the more it erodes itself, the more it's making itself dull. It's really hard to watch them chase their tail when it's our fault. Näitkö vanhan miehen, joka kadujansa työntää? Niihin kamahalli, mikä muilta yli jää. Silmissään vain menneisyyttä, sodat joihin joutui syyttää. This particular scene talks about the MeriKotka house and how the occamy came to be the mascot of the house. And since this house is the house about thought, this particular scene was dedicated to a fundamental question of thought and a dialogue that took place in Switzerland in 1965. And this is where we get the riddle to the house key, to one of the house keys. Whoever is aware of the Porter series knows the question, but we took a different spin. So the question that brings this key is, what comes first, perception or desire? And there is also the reference to the Ouroboros. That's to indicate life's continuous wave from flowering to withering away. It also has its own other meaning, but we will stick with this meaning. As part of the plot, the Ouroboros is Professor Newt Scamander's occamy, one of his pet occamies. That occamy was stolen from him, and that's why he keeps going back in time. Part of the fictional setup is that the wizarding world and beasts can clearly grasp the message of the chief healers, but the muggles are unable to grasp the message of the chief healer is because of a mistake that was made by the wizarding world, and that is why muggles are unable to grasp the message. They come pretty close to the message of the chief healer, which is indicative in this particular example from 1965. Per our historical context, as you know, Susipetonen is a student of Bohm and Newt Scamander, so she is very much involved in the dialogues that Bohm was involved in, and that's why she keeps going back in time with Newt Scamander. In this story, he was considered the chief receiver who would get the message from the healer, and how the occamy still set him into a loop even though he was the closest, and he comes pretty close to understanding the message, but he misses it just by a fraction. Officially, you could consider Bohm, if you consider the whole scheme of things and this whole sarcastic textbook, Bohm would be like the founder of MeriKotka, like the real founder, because everything circles around it. There's a team of Hufflepuffers going back in time to unfold and enfold, which is a key concept, kind of saying that the more you chase, the more thought chases after a demiguise, which is also the twist here. It is a fun spin, so don't take it seriously. Now everything here is a work of fiction with some random facts. Bohm is obviously the random fact, so his connections will come up. The 1965 dialogue is a random fact. That's how things have spun up. There's also one more thing that I wanted to say is there is an emphasis to pronounce certain words a certain way. Like, I will not say Bogart, I will say Bogart. Also, I say Aharonov because I want to emphasize on the aha piece. The Eureka piece. Aha! There is a story that will connect Tahati Avain. If you know Finnish, you know what Tahati Avain means. Tahati Avain is a key character in the story. Going back to Copernicus, coming to Galileo, and then going back to Paracelsus, an Austrian/Swiss. That's why the story also had a meaning, because it picked up from a place in Switzerland. Sveitsi is Switzerland in Finnish. 20th of December is Bohm's 106th birth anniversary, and the whole month of December is special. That will also come up because Copernicus in my story has discovered a couplet, and that couplet revolves around the months of December, October and Feb, and there's a whole backstory, which I will have a separate episode just for that backstory and how that whole thing stirs up and how that leads to Copernicus identifying the couplet, and then how that reaches to Tahati Avain. Right now, we'll just stop there. Initially, I went down this rabbit hole about radar clutter, understanding the side lobe energies. There was this experiment that he ran about weak measurements, and since the Dresden School remembers Bohm, this episode is specifically to commemorate that, and I will leave you moi moi.